Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com's. Where are we here? We're on the weekend show. This is our broiler chicken show. In fact, I think actually I even put it out on YouTube there, so we might have a bunch of YouTubers. Yeah, there we are. Looks like YouTube is live. So I'm going to mute that. But if you are on YouTube, maybe type something in, because I noticed last week I only saw the YouTube chat about halfway through the video. So great. Justo Salinas. Hola, hola, hola. Kevin. Hi. Fee Hero. I'm here. Excellent. Okay. So it looks like YouTube is rocking and rolling. Hello, Kevin. And of course, we've got our regular crew. I mean, I can just show you guys. I don't know whether it's that big of a deal, but if you are part of, whoops, no, what button did I just hit there? Something went wrong. If you are part of the crew, and I'm not quite sure how to do that, but oh, maybe it's this button. Nope, that's not it. That's me. Oh, Jesus. I'm looking pretty rough for a Sunday morning. Anyway, good morning, everybody. But on YouTube, maybe you can see all the people. If you are part of the site, and I encourage site members to especially the level oneers, they just got it out of class. I know. I'm looking pretty rough. I have to be up at Liam for 2 o'clock, so I have to end this so I have enough time to look pretty for him too. So thanks, Zach. Hey, at least I've got some hair. I suppose guys that are going bald and stuff like that, they don't have to worry about that kind of thing. But anyway, I'm not, and whatever it's worth, this isn't a beauty contest. I used to joke with my customers because I was a retail broker for a long time. And I used to say, like, I could be sitting here in a diaper and smoking a cigar. Would it make any difference? As long as your money's being managed correctly and we're giving you good picks and sound reasonable money management counsel. And of course, then I was a financial advisor, so advice. Would it really make any difference what I look like? But anyway, that doesn't matter. I'm wasting time. So good morning, everyone. As I have sort of said recently, I like using these broiler chicken shows twofold. The level 1 program that we just had initiated about a month or so ago, they are, you're not going to take advice from a guy in a diaper? Come on. The question is, how would you know? Do you know if I have a diaper on right now? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I'm speaking to FE Hero there over on YouTube. But anyway, I'm just having fun. Okay, so focus, Brian, focus. The purpose of this video is twofold. Number one, the level oneers, like I said, they're going through eating their vegetables right now. Really tough slog. It's a very, very steep learning curve. We just did the Introduction to Technical Analysis module for them. So they're learning about things like market structure, the different types of technical analysis you can do. They had to, be basically introduced to things like, oh, hello. Mr. Max, I think I asked you before. Could you maybe throw yourself on mute? All right, way to go, dude. Shane, all right, and I love that about my my veterans. They all sort of know the routine here. Thank you for your help there, Shane. Just an FYI, Max, when you do come into the Hangout here, you got to throw yourself on mute, or else we get terrible feedback and stuff like that. So somebody just helped you there. No big deal. So we needed to, it was a super, super thick module that the level oneers had to go through. And there he is now. In fact, I'm actually surprised. I would have thought after class, you'd be like, fuck it, man, I need a break. But no, Grim's right in here in the Broiler Chicken Show with us. He did like a 3.5 hours? A 3.5 hour session with the level oneers this morning. Just going through all the questions and making sure that people sort of could connect the dots to these concepts. So, hats off to Grim. Awesome instructor. And of course, good old Brian loves to talk, so I'm in there in the chat room just talking about 20 different things and totally derailing him. So I apologize, sir. If anything, I'm the troublemaker in the back of the class, throwing paper airplanes and stuff, just being a pain in the butt. But oh, you want to say something? Go ahead, sir.
I was just saying, well, it's the troublemakers that really bring the good lessons to the class, right? They bring up all those topics that are important to understand. So I think it's absolutely great that you're as involved with it as you are. So that's fantastic. Love it.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, 1 + 1 = 3. And please remember, all you level 1ers, and I see a bunch of you have popped into the hangout here, consider this, this Broiler Chicken Show as sort of your dovetail to, if you happen to have anything that wasn't totally explained by Grim, although I think you did a fantastic job. I can always add to the equation in here. So that's a big part of JLo. You like those, eh, Khalid? And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, ma'am. If I'm butchering your name, the pronunciation, please correct me. But it's adorable that we're oh, good, excellent. We've got even, we have like a nice core group of little old ladies. We're actually at TRI, and they have a lot of fun on the site. So please, if you're watching on YouTube and you're kind of like, I don't really fit in with these guys, they're trader guys. I don't know. Colleen, do you feel like you're fitting in pretty well? I don't know. You told me that you weren't in high school anymore. So I don't know. I apologize if that was incorrect. But long and short of it here, the point is that I think she's having a great time in the program, and she's handling herself perfectly fine with all these young punks who are making innuendos left, right, and center. But, that's typical male. Not quite daughtery yet. Okay, well, anyway, I watching you in the program, and I think you're doing awesome. And ideally, if we could turn you into a role model spokesperson for TRI for good behavior in the marketplace, for managing your emotions, managing your behavior, I would absolutely love that. And Sheila, wherever you are, Leanne, another great example. These are great ladies that we have on the site that are just doing awesome with this information. And it's a real privilege to have you guys in here. So, enough of that. So as I said, this show has sort of two purposes. So if I do go off on a tangent, you YouTubers are watching, what the hell is he doing going on talking about that? Well, it's because I really want to answer any specific questions. And Colleen did have a question that I want to speak to here in a bit. So you YouTubers might be like, well, this is a waste of time. If you want to fast forward through it, if you want a 1.5 speed, 2 times speed, whatever to get through that, that's fine, whatever. The second part and sort of motivation of this weekend video is to sort of talk a little bit about my crazy rants on Twitter. And I just like to go through, because I know that I speak about a lot of very esoteric concepts and stuff, and sort of this gives me the opportunity to explain. So we should probably zoom back to last week. When was last week's offering? Geez, how far back was it? Oh, I guess here it is. February 3rd. Was that the last show we did? Yeah, it was. Okay, so it's right here. So we've got, there is where we are. We've got that to cover here through the show here today. And I'll just try and speak to some points if I think there's some clarification that's needed. Where were we? Right there. And then the last thing, which I've been a little bit negligent on recently, and I apologize, guys. So many moving parts here. But I do know that we do have a lot of people that sort of ask for me to just take a look at assets. And keep in mind, guys, I'll just give you my 2 cents. It doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, this thing's guaranteed to go up or this thing's guaranteed to go down. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we all realize that, what's the value of people's opinions. A lot of the rhetoric that I say here on these shows is just that. It's just my opinion. The only thing that's really valuable when we trade is our setups. And ironically enough, I was actually listening to a bunch, and we'll talk about it in the Twitter feed. I was listening to a bunch of opinion over the past week. And, these people, they're entitled to their opinion. One guy, he, billed himself as, oh, I'm a monster trader. Look at me. Oh, I'm so cool. And he was like, that thing's a piece of shit. And it turns out that piece of shit actually just rallied and hit an upside objective. And our bullish setup on that piece of shit just knocked out a winner. So go figure. I mean, that's unfortunately the value of people's opinions. It doesn't really mean anything. The only thing that really means anything is, do you have a setup that's been vetted, and can you manage yourself to simply trade your setups that you have committed to trading? But anyway, that's here and there. So the other thing that I was going to say here, which I didn't talk about, was people have asked me to take a look, but it's weird. Like, the requests are all over the place, so I have to sort of go and hunt and find them. But like these kind of names here, so I think I really want to, actually address these actual specific requests. And then I also see we've got a couple of requests over there on YouTube as well. So I've got a lot to cover here. First things first, let's deal with Colleen's question. So Colleen just simply asked, through the education program, one of the topics that we cover, I got to find it, of course, is intermarket analysis relationships. And that's drawing all these funny little sort of charts that are actually combinations of symbols. And how the heck do you do that on TradingView? So, we'll just do a really simple example. Hopefully this will help you, Colleen. If I'm heading in a good direction, just let me know. If I'm totally off, then, again, just let me know, and I'll try and make sure that we get your question answered. But if I wanted to do something like, let's say I want to study the Dow gold ratio, how the heck do I put that chart up? Well, me personally, if I can find an ETF proxy, I think those are the easiest to work from. But you can always go through TradingView and try and find the symbol of whatever asset you're interested in. But if I just simply go DIA and then divide that by GLD, and what I've done here is I've created the Dow Jones is going to be the numerator. These are ETFs. And like I said, you can go and do the index if you want. And the GLD, so the Dow Jones Industrial Average ETF, is going to be my numerator, and the GLD is going to be the denominator. So if I hit enter, boom, now I've created a spread chart where literally it takes, so if we just think about the math here, what's going on, right? And we could, if we wanted to, just for fun, we can actually put on DIA. So there is the Dow Jones Industrial Average Exchange Traded Fund. Maybe we'll make that in yellow. And we'll go compare and go GLD, and this is the gold ETF. Maybe the blue is good. So you can see here that the Dow Jones ETF is $251.32. The index's value is 25,132, I guess. And the gold ETF, you can see it's 124.21, or basically $1,241. So what does that mean in real terms? If I simply go 1 DJI divided by 1 GLD, well, quite literally it means, and this says 2.0. Remember that this is 25,000, right? And this is 1,200. So that might get a little complicated when dealing with ETFs. We could just do the actual index itself, right? And go DJI. I think there's Dow Jones Industrial Average. And then subtract, or why don't we go divided by? And we'll do, say, the futures, GC1 exclamation mark. So now we're going to do that relationship. DJI, Dow Jones Industrial Average, is the numerator. And the gold price and the futures is the denominator. So when we go do that, we see instead of 2.0, because remember those were ETFs, now you see 19.05. Or in essence, what this simply says is, how many ounces of gold does it take to buy one Dow Jones Industrial Average unit? And right now, it takes 19 ounces of gold to buy one Dow Jones Industrial Average unit. Right? We could change these things to reflect that. Right? We can go compare DJI. Boom. There's the Dow. And we do another one, GC1 exclamation mark, and boom, there is the gold, right? And so we see the Dow Jones Industrial Unit is 25,161, and the gold is $1,318. So, Colleen, does that answer your question? How did I do? Do, 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 do. Yes, I think so. Was there any specific ratio that you wanted to look at that you were curious about? Maybe I can just dude it up on the screen here and help you out. No, Rio, it looks like you can. It should be a fairly simple study to do. Get the likes up. 44 watching and only 6 likes. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Yo-Yo. I totally appreciate that. I don't really shill all that. You know, I suppose I'm supposed to go, smash that like button, hit that bell button, all that kind of nonsense, right? I don't know whether you guys, whenever I watch YouTube videos, the very first thing they say is, all right, hit that like button, please, please, please. I need YouTube to pay me lots of money. All that kind of stuff. I don't really care about that. But hey, if you want to hit the like button, usually, actually, we had one gentleman that came on the site about a year or so ago, and he was shilling a stable coin. And none of us on the site would buy it. And he got really upset with us. And he even took the education program. And I don't think he learned a single thing through the whole education program, which really bums me out. But invariably, for like the next 6-8 months, every single video that we put out, he hit the dislike button. You could almost literally watch it happen. Like on the instantly the dislike button was hit. It's like I hadn't even said anything. So I don't know. Take that stuff for whatever it's worth. But I hope we're having fun here. That's really all that matters. Colleen, so you did the one I was looking for. What's this? It's knowing to use ETF index futures. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you got to play around with the values. I think probably the best thing to do, Colleen, is start with the actual indexes. Using the ETFs is kind of cheating a little bit. And of course, you know, they've got the Dow at $251 and the gold ETF at $112 or $113, which kind of means that, you know, they're kind of implying the same price, but they're not really, right? Because the Dow is like 25,000 and the gold's only like 1,300. So it's a little bit misleading. So if you want to start out with just using the indexes, totally fine. Totally appreciate it. Thank you, Yo-Yo. You're the man. Somebody asked me to do the TLT and tips, and that's really simple because they are ETFs and they are basically the same price. It's just TLT divided by TIP, right? We go boom. We won't need these on here. But in essence, there is your tips versus the TLT spread. I would personally prefer actually to have the tips on top, because what I really want to ask is, what is the price of the tips in the marketplace? Because of course they are inflation protected versus the price of the non-inflation protected assets. But you notice that by me just changing the divisor and which order, all it does is just flips it around, right? So TLT. Got to get the symbol right, divided by TIP, and there you go. And you know, on the matrix that I give everybody, actually, and that's what this chart is, right? Tips, and actually, in this study, all I've done is I haven't even done a division, right? All I've done is just said what price is higher than the other. So in this case, in this particular study, right, and you can see the symbol box, really, really simple. I think by default, TradingView spits out like a bar chart or like a candlestick chart. And that's fine. I mean, if you want to use that, that's totally fine. But I personally, what I really want to see is I want to see that relationship over time. So I kind of like using the area charts. I'm not too concerned about the individual candles. What I really want to see is what's sort of the push in the marketplace. And this just simply asks, again, the tips are inflation protected. So if the tips have that inflation protection premium, if investors feel as though there's inflation to be worried about in the system, then they're going to bid the price of those tips up. There's going to be a premium for that inflation protection. Versus the TLTs, they have no inflation protection. So really, what this really is a question of, are investors bidding up the tips to make sure that they have that inflation protection premium? And in this case, if we get a reading below 0, then what it simply means is that no, investors are not bidding up those inflation protection. They don't think that it's worth the premium to buy the inflation protected bonds. They're basically the same bonds. It's just one has an inflation protection and one doesn't. So the relationship, very simply put, and actually if you look at this over time, it intuitively should make sense. Unfortunately, these relationships don't go back that far, but prior to the financial asset crisis, that was right in here, 2008, 2009, we lived in a world of inflation, and that was perfectly fine. Then we went into the financial asset crisis. The market just printed, the Feds, helicopter money, Ben Bernanke, QE, printed just tons and tons and tons of money. And so the market was, holy shit, this is inflationary. But the problem here is that you have to understand the backdrop. The backdrop is we are in a massive deflationary cycle. So really, by them printing a ton of money, all they were really trying to do is just offset that massive deflationary push. And you can see over time, the deflationary pressures in our economy have just been absolutely overwhelming. Why? Because we got a whole bunch of these baby boomers that are all retiring and leaving the economy. But, our cycle thesis says that Q3 2017, the millennials are going to start taking over the economy. And that's basically right in here. And you can see how that inflation debate in the marketplace, and keep in mind, this is people with their hard-earned money. This isn't some government agency telling you. This is people actually voting with their pocketbooks. And you can see that as we're sort of moving through this translation, we might actually head back into an inflationary environment. And frankly speaking, that's what should happen. The sad part about it, I hope you guys all enjoyed really, really low interest rates, where the trend will probably stay relatively tame over the next, probably 5 years or so. But we all have to actually get used to the fact that we now should expect 35 years of rising interest rates now, which kind of sucks. And I, ironically, guys, I don't think many of you have actually even lived through a rising interest rate world. Colleen, do you remember back in sort of 1980, the hyperinflation environment? It's very, very different world than what we live in now. But that's sort of our future, but that's quite a ways down the road. And we did actually, at least I did, a very lengthy conversation on the site. I think you can find it in our library on how the bond market works, and actually this gentleman did a really, really good lecture on how the money system works and why we should be expecting rising interest rates now and that whole interest rate cycle. But for people that are on the site, feel free to pop into the library, and if you have any more questions about bonds and interest rates and the cycles and all that, I would, and for the person who was asking about the TLT tips, I actually did a video specifically on that, so be sure to watch that. Okay, so Colleen, do you feel like you had your question answered? That was the whole point of this exercise. Now the whole show will stop. And that'd be funny if she actually stepped away from her desk. She's not even there anymore. Is she here? Oh, I think she's gone. Oh, I hope we answered her question. Were there any other level oneers? I know, Max, I think you're in the level 1 program. And where's that crypto? Really cool image. I love that image. Crypto, you're in the level 1 program. Did you have any further questions or anything before we sort of jump into the Twitter feed? No, hearing none. All right, we can move on. All right, good to hear. And I guess we lost Colleen, but anyway. Yeah, I see that you are in level 1. The question is, like half of this, the purpose of this was to just answer any questions that you might have had lingering. Okay, so not hearing any. Let's move on. Okay, so we finished off last week, video on the 3rd. So here we are popping into this week, and I'll just, I spent way too much time on this. I am no questions. Okay, Chuck, sounds good. Awesome. We just quickly try and go through this as fast as we can. Was interesting to watch these kind of videos through the week. And anytime I see fun videos that I like like to tweet them out. I know a lot of people not too impressed with this David Wilcox guy, and a lot of the comments and stuff that I got back was more about this David Wilcox guy than anybody else. What I was really interested in was this David Adair guy. And for whatever it's worth, I think I even tweeted out another video like, I guess people really weren't too impressed with this interviewer. So here's another interview by him. But I got to tell you, man, I honestly think that I get the feeling like we're heading towards some sort of big catalyst. Something big is coming. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the Jupiter-Saturn cross. Have you guys seen that there's like supposed to be a spaceship that's like literally orbiting Saturn right now? Really cool stuff. And what I found interesting about this guy was he actually used a completely different type of technology. Now, I don't know. Maybe this guy's a nut job. I don't know. But it was really interesting listening to him talk about creating energy fields and the way that he built rockets was very, very different than this combustion engine kind of concept. And I thought that was super cool. And in my Twitter feed, I do a lot of these kind of funny little sort of side tweets, nothing really to do with the market. But all the people on TRI know that actually what one of my personal goals is to try and build an anti-grav levitation device. Ironically enough, I actually look at trading and I look at crypto and all that as a means to an end. What I would like to do is actually head down this road as I get older in my life, because I really do think the technology is out there. We just got to put all the pieces together. But anyway, that's sort of what all that stuff was about. And somebody on the site actually gave me this video and said, "Hey, Brian, you might want to check this out." And I love that about our site. Is these people are very open-minded, and we have fluid conversations. We're not all just talking about trading all the time. We're actually humans too. Love the idea that we have this 1+1 thing working really, really well. Hey, Benjamin, nice to see you, buddy. On the site, and one of the benefits of having a robust community here now is that we have people looking at a gazillion different assets from 20 different directions, and somebody happened to point out that some of the silver stocks were looking really interesting, and of course all the DAV fans, you know how much Da Vinci loves his silver. So I have a funny feeling it was one of his referrals. I know you guys absolutely love your gold and silver. It's an interesting trade setup. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's definitely in location. We've got signs of divergence. You can see the structure coming in. And so I'm watching this closely, and I might just pick up some silver here. I don't really like this as a trade location, and I did notice he's pulling back a little bit here. So any sort of serious test of these, this original bottom, I'm going to take a serious look at this. And if I get any candle patterns or anything that sneak me in, then I might just pull the trigger on it. And actually right now, we were there was a gold and silver show, I think in Vancouver, and one of the site members, I think it's one of Dav's people, posted a really interesting interview on this gentleman who likes silver stocks. And so I actually created a nice little matrix of all the silver stocks I'm following right now. So I've got a whole bunch of them on my screen. And I might do some shopping. I was interested. I think it was this one that I was actually tweeting out about. I mean, first and foremost, has this guy got some room to run if silver does decide to go into a bull so we can make some money? I think so. Have we got W's trying to come in? Keep in mind, this is actually, this is a daily. Probably best to look at this on a weekly chart. Have we got W's to try and help us sneak into this thing? They're starting to form, and I actually have put on the tweets and site and stuff. I'm going to be watching this level really closely. So, you know, I mean, I'm open to making money. If this W comes in, I'll take a serious look at it. And actually, we had a pot stock, and I think it was kind of funny. One of the guys that I like to follow on Twitter, Trader Stewie, he actually, and we were even joking about this in the level 1 classroom this morning. Weekly W's often are very wide, and they often make just the most beautiful bases. And so that was this pot stock. And, you know, hats off to Nathaniel. Again, 1 + 1 = 3. One of our site members brought this stock up to my attention, and hopefully everybody can see, damn, look at that W. And I thought it was so funny this morning. Well, actually, I think it was yesterday or the day before. But a guy I like to follow on Twitter just because he thinks sort of the same way that I think. This guy, Trader Stewie. I think he calls these like in fact, I think I even put it in the Twitter feed this morning. He likes to call them J-Lo double bottoms. I'm not going to comment on that. Yeah, right here was his chart. I mean, you can call them saucer bottoms. You can call them J-Lo bottoms. You can call them weekly W's. I don't really care. The irony of it all is a good trade is a good trade is a good trade. And really, you know, that's the bottom line here. And, you know, this is the kind of like that silver stock we were looking at just a moment. It hasn't confirmed the W yet, but hopefully everybody can see this beautiful bottom. It is beautiful. I'll continue to call it a weekly double bottom. Isn't that funny? You like that, Andrew? J-Lo bottom. But I didn't say that, so you can't get angry at me. That was Trader Stewie. But I thought that was hilarious when I saw that. So that was one of the tweets that I was talking about. Actually, we've got that taken care of, so I don't need to talk about that now. But I think, as I had sort of said with that Great Panther, what I absolutely love about our site is sort of we're all now, like, if you can feel, we're sort of hitting critical mass. Right, I say you can see, actually back on February 4th, I tweeted this out. I mean, it's just beautiful. Absolutely textbook W's. And Colleen, are you here now? I don't know whether you're here or not. I think I asked you in the classroom, can you see this W? And if you can't see it off of that weekly chart, then, you know, can you see it off that daily chart? Then can you see it off of the weekly chart? So I'm interested in some silver names. Like I said, we have one of that video's top picks was the producer in the space, and they have direct exposure to, I better put all these pages correctly. They had direct exposure to silver. I think they're like the biggest sort of direct producer or whatever. And so I'm very interested in a bunch of silver names. And then, you know, if they start Wing, then you know Brian, he's probably going to be in there buying. So, you know, take it for whatever it's worth. You know, this is a really good example of those reload zones. And this kind of like, you know, how Bitcoin jumped up here, and I recently put out, don't chase, damn you, don't chase. So if we do reload zone, I mean, it would have taken the patience of Job if you were a silver bull, just to simply have the patience and discipline to wait for the market to come down into reload zones. In this particular case, it actually even went beyond the reload zone. But what I often find, and I think I've told, you know, previous school people this, hopefully you YouTubers, you see this. I often see that when we look back in hindsight, that we actually see that the W comes in right off that 78.6. I see that so often, it's ridiculous. So this is textbook. This is exactly what's supposed to happen here. Okay, let's keep moving forward because I don't want to be here all day. Yeah, we talked a little bit of UFOs, pot stocks. In fact, I even halfway through the week, as a whole bunch of people are like, "Pot, what the hell are you doing talking about UFOs? Get back to talking about the market." So I was like, okay, well, and maybe UFOs aren't your thing. How about a pot stock? Oh God, this soap opera, silly Quadriga, so disappointing. And if anything, if you're new to trading, you have to appreciate this. Like a couple things. Number one, there is a lot of really bad people in the capital markets. You have to understand that. If anything, you almost have to come to trading and all that and expect dickheads, expect thieves, expect people that really don't know what they're doing. They will lose money. Remember, like 95% of all people that play this game lose money. So how are they going to make money? All right, well, we'll just fucking come up with a scam. That's the sad part about capitalism, is that sadly, stuff like this actually is the norm. It's not the exception. And this is why, the regulators, and what really sucks about this is that there was a horrible scandal in the gold market back in the late 1990s. And a whole bunch of Canadian, it was a Canadian scandal. And a whole bunch of Canadian mutual funds and stuff got really wrecked, right, and just destroyed over it. And so the regulators just literally just shit on the market. Yeah, that's right, Bre-X. To the point where if you were a director of a gold company and you actually wanted to report findings, you literally had to sign those documents in blood. So I hope, for goodness sake, the regulators don't come down like a ton of bricks on these kind of sites. But the more and more I read about this story, the more and more it stinks, which really sucks. Because, now we're starting. I saw even this morning people saying, I put my life savings in Quadriga. I thought it was safe. It was an exchange. And it wasn't like I bought Bitcoins, and I'm totally ruined. And now that we've got that kind of talk happening, that literally gives the regulators the green light just to take a big old dump on this space. So, I mean, there's not really much I can comment about this other than this is what we call systemic risk. It's all about the system. And, if anything, all the guys on Twitter and stuff that are all like private keys. Remember, there's one guy, I think his name's Trace Mayer. I think I got his name right. I'm not positive about that. Who's like, we're going to have private keys day. This is one of the reasons why, if you have private keys and you control your Bitcoins, then you're not susceptible to this kind of stuff. It sucks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And it is a classic. The worst part about it is a classic tell of, tell's not the right word. Characteristic of the capitalist system. And if anything, we often say on the site, a little bit of regulation actually isn't such a terrible thing. And this is exactly why. Kind of sad. I mean, I didn't take a hit on this. I know some of our site members did, and I'm totally empathetic. I had a half a Bitcoin worth of shit coins on Cryptopia. So I'm in the soup for about a half a Bitcoin there. And also, too, interestingly enough, this isn't actually totally unique to this cycle. The last cycle, 2014, 2015, we had lots of marginal exchanges go belly up through that cycle, too. So it's really not like this is actually unique. It's actually par for the course, which really sucks. What's really shitty about this is it almost sounds to me like this was an absolute blatant scam. You know, the more and more you read about it, the worse and worse this smells, which really sucks. About halfway through the week, of course, good old CNBC shot us in the foot again, coming out publicly and saying to buy Bitcoins, which, of course, is a potion for disaster. And, you know, somebody actually responded and they said that the CNBC actually has a 42% win rate. And frankly speaking, I didn't think it was that high. But nonetheless, you know, if you take our education programs, we ideally want to be right a good 60, somewhere in there, 60 to 70% of the time. And we do have lots of people that are basically in that zone. Some of our traders are up in sort of the 70% zone. And if you can get up into that area, then you're kicking ass, especially with like 2-to-1 risk reward. But you know, this is just a commentary. I absolutely hate it. It almost seems like it's inevitable. As soon as CNBC comes out and publicly says, do this, the market does the exact opposite. And sure enough, and what was really interesting about this was Bitcoin was just sort of puttering along. And then we went into the State of the Union address and Bitcoin just shit the bed. Now, the good part about it, thank heavens, is these lows held. And it turns out, like, I figured that when you publicly come out and say my stop loss is at 32.50, how many guys do you think on OKCoin or on BitMEX are going to be like, holy shit, that means that there's a whole bunch of orders down there? So if I sell and go short here, we know that these stop losses, because they bought, so that means that they're going to sell. That means there's going to be a whole bunch of sell orders here. If I sell here, then I can actually buy back my short position into their sell orders. And so this is the reason why you really don't want to be too public and get too big of a name for yourself. And I've seen this happen. Like Thomas and I have repeatedly seen, even in our daily brief videos on the site, we'll say we're long from here, our stops are here, and then it's like instantly the exchanges go right after our stops, and then the market turns literally a minute after those stop levels have been hit. I've seen it happen a lot. And so it's one reason why I don't really like to be too specific with these YouTube videos about trade levels, because these fuckers, they love to run our stops. And remember, this is an unregulated market. If the guys running OKCoin, if the guys running MEX, if they feel like pushing the market in one direction to try and rip stops, they will. And so this is almost like a kiss of death. Now, thank heavens, we didn't actually break the lows. We held these lows and we started to turn back up. I'd be interested to sort of see what this sort of water cooler conversations were around CNBC on this event. Like, oh shit, we did it again. Or was it, oh good, this is happening exactly the way that we had planned it? And I'm not quite sure what the answer to that question is. I will say I'm exceedingly pleased to see that they didn't get stopped out, and hopefully they actually booked a nice win on the trade, but we'll see how it goes. There was the State of the Union address. For whatever it's worth, you know, politics aside, my biggest concern is, are there any fumbles? Does he say anything shocking? Does he ruffle feathers? And I watched the speech, and frankly speaking, I thought he did a pretty good job in his speech. So in this tweet, I just simply said, it's a pretty solid job. And, you know, the Democratic response, it was pretty solid. And so basically it was a non-event. If he had come out and dropped some sort of bombshell, then I would have been like, oh boy. Yeah, I'm not gonna debate that, Yo-Yo. In fact, on the site, we joke about I think a week or two ago, the Chicago Board Options Exchange is a notoriously corrupt exchange. And one of their market participants got actually caught trying to manipulate prices of options into the VIX expiry. And the VIX index itself is just a train wreck ready to destroy people. And what was really interesting was this firm was caught manipulating prices. They were fined $1.5 million. They paid the fine and didn't say boo, just walked away quietly. So it's a great example. You're absolutely right, Yo-Yo. There's lots of rigging going on in the regulated markets too. What's really interesting about the stock market, and I wonder whether, the market participants, of course, we had talked about this short trade all through the fall. Obviously, the market went substantially beyond even my expectations, but this trade setup worked really nicely. So the question ultimately was, what's their plan? And the interesting thing about this is quite a few people have sort of been lulled back into, all right, everything's tickety-boo, business as usual. And what I don't think they realize is all they've done is they've just rallied the market right back into what I call a reload zone. And the institutions, there's probably a whole bunch of liquidity, a whole bunch of stop loss orders just sitting above these highs. I wouldn't be surprised if their goal was to get the market up into these levels, try and generate some liquidity, and then take the market back down. Maybe this thing breaks faster. At this point, it was just, okay, I would like to reshort the market. And I have to follow my process, the 3 steps, right? First, we want location, then we want signs of momentum divergence, and then we want signs of some sort of market structure. So at this tweet was just simply like, okay, we've got location now. We're up against the POC. We've rallied back into a reload zone. You can see we're up against the 200 SMA. Now I'm waiting for signs of divergence, and at this point, the divergence had not confirmed, but we did see Willie was nice and stupid. So no doubt about it, this market was overbought. It's ready to thump if it gets a green light. So at this point, we're waiting for a divergence. Once the divergence is confirmed, then we can start hunting structure. Let's see. Swing traders, for those people that trade lower time frames, having lots of fun on the site reporting. This is a hourly chart of the Australian dollar. Hopefully you can see reload zones, all that kind of conversation. There actually was a short trade that developed up through here, but that trade's over. Then the market rallied up, painted another M, and this trade's working away. And the swing traders are just having a great old time. Just trading. I mean, we got lots of volatility in the market. You cannot say swing traders don't have opportunities. They're all over the place. You just got to build your plan, identify your setup, and just get in there. And if you're a swing trader, you're operating off of things like hourly and 4-hour charts. I did actually like, and I like Simon. I think he's got, he's definitely a smart capitalist. There's no doubt about it. So when I started hearing talk about, Bitcoin can actually be used on things like iTunes, oh boy. Should we really be so bearish of Bitcoin now? And are we maybe walking into a trap being super bearish of Bitcoin, considering where we are trade location wise? And then this is basically, and what I think is happening here is I think Lightning Network is going to be sort of our mass adoption tool. And it's so cool watching the Lightning Network just fill out. I mean, it just looks like a spider web that's just covering the globe. It's so fucking cool. The devs are, and, Shane makes a comment here. It's interesting. I used to do Coinigy shows with a couple guys and one developer guy, Alex Sturck. And ironically enough, as Bitcoin was face ripping up and the network was clogging up, and it took like an hour or two to get like a transaction done, there was like 100,000 backlog of ledgers that needed to get done because all the public was just FOMO buying anything they could. It was clearly evident that the network just wasn't at the stage to be able to handle that kind of adoption. And he used to say, what we need is a developer cycle. We need a cycle where, the public's not interested and the developers can get back to work. And so as Shane just said here, we're getting the developer cycle. The development is happening and this story is moving forward. And I'm just worried what I've kind of noticed, and even some tweets I put out recently of just sort of suggesting that maybe we can start thinking bullishly again. And people are like, you're crazy, man. No way, man. This thing's going to zero, right? And all that kind of stuff. The exact opposite of when the market was ripping up. And I'd be like, oh boy, this has got trouble written all over it. Shut up, Brian. You know what you're talking about. We're going to 100,000, right? It's almost the exact opposite scenario. Now, whenever I put stuff out, if I put out a bearish comment, I get lots of, yeah, thumbs up. Yeah, you're right. Yep. So everybody and their brother is a bear now. Well, at some point that trade's going to get too crowded. And I think kind of what we saw last week is maybe a little bit of a tell that the short side's getting a little too crowded. Anyway, we'll see how it happens. But this is kind of the anecdotal evidence that I want to see that, okay, we've stopped talking about getting rich with Bitcoin and just playing it from the speculation side, but we're actually starting to talk about adoption and everybody trying to actually use Bitcoins. For the level 2 program, we go into great detail about using WD-GAN, and one of our site members, again, 1 + 1 = 3. This is why I love the site so much. Found this really cool video on WD-GAN. And Shane, this is where I need you. And I'm glad you're here today. You and I, we need to. It turns out this guy actually did a horoscope of soybeans. And soybeans was first listed like in 1936, a futures contract or forwards contract or something like that. It actually had a date of birth. And I even asked on the site recently, can somebody find me the date of birth of Bitcoin? And can we do a horoscope of Bitcoin? And this is so Shane, I think you need to watch this video if you haven't already. This is pretty cool stuff, man. And it's shocking, the angles and everything that he did off of this. Can you do me a favor, Shane, and can you watch this, please? Because I really would like, and if anything, I don't know whether we can or not, but it'd be kind of cool if we could get your better half to maybe do a horoscope of Bitcoin and see if we can start playing connect the dots a little bit on this. Moving forward, gee whiz. You guys have heard me talk before about how trade wars never end well. Well, here's some anecdotal evidence that trade wars are starting to take their toll. In China, demand for all these high-priced goods coming from the West is starting to trail off. And Jaguar Land Rover just announced a $3.5 billion loss, and not even dollars, pounds. So that's like what, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 billion Canadian dollars. Oh, Jesus. And it's almost funny, the numbers that these guys throw around, but this could turn into an absolute train wreck by the time this story is finished. So be careful, everyone. Oh God. I tweet comments out like this because I would prefer that you don't listen to Brian and his crazy rants as a sales pitch for this course and what we do at TRI. I would prefer that you listen to our members and the students and the people who've actually gone through the program. That's where you're going to actually really for real, get like an actual sort of barometer reading of if there's any value to this. And God, comments like this, gentlemen, right? I've never seen this level of fluency anywhere. TRI is such a gold mine. I got to tell you, we've trained up a bunch of really, really good traders. These people know what they're talking about. They're behaving correctly. Colleen, what do you think? Is Grim a pretty good instructor? Remember when Grim first came to me, he didn't know jack shit about trading. The best, Colleen says, right? And really, it's our community. It's all the members put together that know how to behave in the marketplace and know the rules, because that's the funny thing. Nobody teaches you the rules of how to actually participate in this capitalist game. Like, it's kind of funny. Somebody just posted in the lounge here just a moment ago, this clown's face. And the irony of it all is this guy, he would prefer you not know the rules. He would prefer that his people can just simply go about their regular business about screwing you over and taking their fees. What we want to do at TRI is teach you the rules so you don't have to listen to those people anymore. You can actually make informed decisions on your own. That's the point of this whole exercise. So, as I said here, it's our community. And if you want a reason to participate at TRI, whether it be just a basic site member or whether you want to go through the education program, listen to our community, because they're the people who are actually the best sales pitch of what I do here. this was sort of a follow-up on this video. Where is it? Oh, I guess the picture's gone. But anyway, that video that I talked about, he actually did a really interesting study of Mars and Jupiter and how the market pivots off of those dates very well. So I'm going to be adding that to my celestial tool belt. If you're kind of wondering what the hell is Brian going on about there, what you really need to do is you need to watch this video. Hey, look at that. It's back now. Isn't that funny how Twitter does that? It sort of comes and goes. Maybe it's my computer. I don't know. Now this gentleman is interesting. A week or two ago, I thought that actually he was. What's that? Can you explain that graphic a little? This one here? Is that what you're talking about? This? It's pretty complicated stuff, Colleen. If anything, I don't really get into teaching this kind of stuff until sort of the end of the level 2 program, because this is sort of like, tinfoil hats, all that kind of conversation. Do we have any control over our lives, or is it all predestined, blah, blah, blah. And, it's funny, when I used to put these out, the Earth, Venus, Uranus relationships and the pivots in the market, and people used to, on Twitter, they used to make fun of me and stuff like that. So, no, I'm not going to spend too much time on this today. This is definitely an in-house thing. And if you want to talk to me about it, Colleen, just PM me, and I'll be more than happy to chat with you about it. Okay, so this gentleman, a very, very smart guy. But if anything, this video, I really liked his show. I thought he was super enthusiastic. You can see how many views he got. People were just, it was one of these circle jerk kind of things. Everybody's just fucking rocking and rolling. Woo, everybody! Right? That kind of talk. I think he knows how to handle himself, and if I understand correctly, I think he has like a trader education program and stuff like that. Totally awesome. But I gotta say, heavy on the opinion side, and I was listening to him, and he was going through all this sort of cryptos and stuff. Of would he buy it? Would he sell it? And he's kind of like, oh, it's a piece of shit. Oh, I know that sucks and stuff. And yet the irony of it all is that one of the names that we'll talk about later that he just said was just going to zero, and I wouldn't touch it, and good luck with that, blah, 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 blah. It actually hit a profit objective for us this morning. So great content, awesome entertainment. I think the guy's very, very smart. Just goes to show what we're here to do is trade our trading plans. You got to figure out what works for you, and you just got to get in there and trade your plan. And it doesn't matter how smart you are going to be wrong every once in a while. It happens. It's just the way it is. I didn't necessarily agree with shorting Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies given their current trade locations. And I have to say that I think, I think he got, some of his trades moved on him. We'll just say that. But on balance, I think he's very, very, very smart gentleman and basically just running his plan. But if anything, great analogy that, hey, you're never going to be right 100% of the time. I thought this was really interesting because we've been sort of watching this for quite a while. This is what's called a Gartley harmonic pattern. And I know some of the level oneers were kind of like, Gartley? What is he doing talking about Gartley? What's a Gartley? What's harmonics? Level oneers, this is probably too intensive for you guys right now. So, I don't even really like to talk about harmonic trading because it's very counterintuitive. It's very difficult to take these trades because you're buying when everybody else is bullish or bearish, and you're selling when everybody was bullish. But I found it fascinating that this Gartley level that we've been talking about for quite a while, look at this pretty little W that came in right off that darn Gartley level. I don't know whether I was overly impressed with this particular trade location, but you can see if you traded this big W here, and you just basically said, look, I'm going to look for a 50% retracement of this range, which is completely natural. and I'm going to look for a test of value high, which is completely natural, then that actually produced a 2-to-1 risk reward. And what we really have to try and do as traders is try and make sure that, number one, you're never going to be right 100% of the time. So just lose that I'm always right kind of thinking. You will get stopped out. It's just the way that it is. And like we said, ideally at TRI, what we're looking for is that sort of 60 to 70% accuracy, which explicitly implies that's 30 to 40% of inaccuracy. So the point of the matter here is if you are right, you get paid a multiple of when you're wrong. That's the key to making money at this game, folks. I keep saying it over and over and over. I sure hope somebody's listening to me. So it was just interesting that we tweeted this out that, gee whiz, there you go. You know, the harmonic trading is working. And, you know, in a weird sort of way, you gotta let go of the emotion. What was everybody and their brother thinking when we were down here? Everybody and their brother, as far as I was concerned, said bear, down, down, down. We're going down. We're going down. And, of course, it turns out that they were wrong. Anyway, moving on. More conversations about stock market setups. So here you can see this 3-step setup evolving. We had trade location. Now you can see the divergence with Thursday, Friday dump in the stock market. Now the divergences are starting to confirm. So now we move on. We've got step 1, check. We've got step 2, check. Now we're waiting for a nice pretty M to come in here for step 3. I don't know whether it's going to develop. We might just go blasting higher here. If that's the case, then there is no setup. But it's really important to try and force yourself to define your reasons for acting. Ideally, we want 3 unrelated reasons, and then just simply wait for all those reasons to develop. I thought this was really interesting. You know, as I said, people on the net and everything were saying, Litecoin's a piece of shit. It's going to zero. Good luck with that trade. And the market went zooming higher, especially in the face of this M. We had this big sort of YW3 higher lows. And when I did my AB equals CDs, you'll notice that when I break that AB equals CD into quarters, 25% of that anticipated range set up off of this YW. This is almost absolutely textbook bot setup. Now, it doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to work. You got to get used to that. It does not mean that one bit. But it means that if I'm right and it goes to the target, I'm going to get paid $3 versus if I'm wrong and I get stopped out, I only lose $1. And that's the kind of shit we got to get into the habit of finding. If I'm right, I get paid substantially more than if I'm wrong. So at this particular case, and we have a lot of these bot setups hit the move stop to scratch level. At this case, you know, and maybe the market craps out here. You don't know. But according to the bot rules, at the very worst case, we just walk away at scratch. And there are a lot of bot trades that you just walk away at scratch. And it's funny how, you know, there was people on Twitter and stuff that actually heard me talk like this and say, oh, well, your guru says just walk away at scratch. But look at us. We made 50x on our money. And I don't know. I mean, great. You made 50x on your money, whatever, 20x. I don't realize it's not a competition for me. I couldn't give a rat's ass. I find it kind of amusing that people are trying to sell their product off of looking at my action in the market, but oh well. To me, the only thing that matters is me versus the market. Everybody else in this world, I don't mean to be rude, but actually you're completely meaningless to me. The only thing that matters is me, my trading plan, and can I follow my trading plan? That's the important thing. How well can I do at doing what I said I was going to do? That's the key to this. And, you know, a lot of people say, why the hell do you name this bot? I see FE Hero here is writing, bot is not actually a name bot. The reason why I called it the bot setup was I used to talk about this to the public. And my line, in fact, I had like a Google slideshow presentation. And the line for it was, when I turn myself into a robot, I trade like a machine. So that's sort of why I called it the bot setup, because in essence, this is very robotic. And like here, for example, the rule is I have to move my stop to scratch. I don't know what's going to happen. But if we come back down here, I got to walk away. If we move up here, well, then I can start trailing my stops. And of course, ideally, we hit this level. I take profits, ring the register, ding, 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 way to go. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. They're going to do a new one. Totally stoked about that. This is a really interesting commentary on Mountain Man. I used to work with a trader, crude oil trader, and his name on the site that I used to trade off of, the company, his nickname on the site was Mountain Man. So we always put an M right off of 61.8s, and I thought it was fascinating how the market just rallied right into that level and just got bitch slapped right back down. That happens a lot. And it was just an interesting commentary. And the irony of it all, I tweeted this whole image out. What does a reversal top look like? Way back here. And we just sort of followed this thing. You can go and look at the Twitter stream. I mean, this is going back to the summer, step by step by step. What do tops look like? And it's just beautiful watching this. If you're on YouTube, just grab this screenshot. This is incredible educational material. Double top breakdown, outside downside key reversals, left a gap, right? Now the counter trend rally in this case. What a surprise. Market's stalling out against previous highs, reload zones. This is a shooting star. There's Mountain Man. I mean, this is a world of information here for you if you want to learn how to trade. And it's just sitting there. I find it fascinating. I could literally teach a whole course and charge like $5,000 a head just off of this one image alone. Anyway, this is a really interesting commentary and sort of, like, why was Brian starting to actually think bullish here? Was there any anecdotal evidence that maybe suggested that the market was a little happier? And this spread between forwards contracts and the cash market is actually a wonderful proxy. So you can see that the spread, and a reading above zero is what we call contango in the futures industry, and a reading below zero is what we call backwardization. And backwardization just simply means there's something wrong with the market. Usually it implies some sort of supply shock. Obviously, what was, CME and all that nonsense, that was a massive new injection of supply, even though really Bitcoin hasn't changed its structure. And people are able to fuck around with Bitcoin price without even actually having any Bitcoins, which is kind of depressing. It's a really sad tale. Somebody, Yo-Yo, earlier on said, the classic markets, they're not manipulated. Well, you look at this whole Bitcoin futures offering. Why on earth is Bitcoin futures trading on the Chicago Board Options Exchange? The only futures contracts that they have on the Chicago Board Options Exchange is the VIX options, which makes sense. Volatility index is a direct component of options pricings. That makes sense. Why on earth was Bitcoin futures listed there? That should have been a little tell to us that, hey, something stinks here. Remember, I told you earlier, the Chicago Board Options Exchange boys, they love to fuck around with the market and play around with market rules. Could they be doing naked shorts and stuff on Bitcoin? Sure. Keep in mind, that's cash settled. That has absolutely nothing to do, ironically enough, with actual Bitcoin price, which is so tragic. But anyway, that's another conversation for another day. Point here is that there were internal anecdotal tells that this market actually was a little bit happier than what this sort of broader market and the tone of Bitcoin would actually tell you. And we like to follow these spreads very closely on the site. And one of my OGs, a guy that I used to work with, I taught him from day one, JC out of Australia. He runs a whole advisory service himself on Bitcoin and crypto. And he and I were bantering back and forth about these spreads. There's clearly anecdotal evidence that, hey, this market's actually a little stronger than what people would lead you to believe. Sure enough, it's interesting on this particular exchange, like Phoenix, you can see they actually did take out the CNBC lows there. But notice, everybody should look at this and go, gee whiz, that looks like a letter of the alphabet, right? And you say, hey, that looks like a W. Whether this was a if anything, guys, when we look at a chart like Bitcoin, if anything, really, please, everyone, try to look at the big picture, right? Where's a nice big, let's take this chart here, right? There's Brian and his crazy talk about reload zones. But just think about this in logical terms. And I've talked to you guys about this before. Do we really want to get too aggressively short down here? Is there odds that maybe this thing might pop up a little bit here? I'm not saying it's going all the way up here, but that is the 50% rule. It's all the way up there at 11 fucking grand. We're probably going to do a 50% rule of this range, which would take us up into like 4,000 or 5,000. But just the simple question I would have for you is it really a good idea for us to get too bearish below green boxes? I don't know. This is a game of statistics, and statistical odds of making a lot of money on the short side here. I think the statistical odds are actually better that we see some sort of rally. Now, off the higher time frames, I can completely understand if people are like, Brian, I got to see this W come in before I'm going to get too bullish, right? And so I can completely understand people are like, give me a close above this 4,000 and then I can start getting bullish. Right now, we're just doing fluffy fluffs. I can completely understand that. That makes total sense to me. And really what I think the trade setup was it really was off of things like 4-hour charts. And I think I've been talking to you guys recently about this. Where's that chart? It's one of these charts. Where did I put that harmonic chart? Of course, whenever I want to find these things, I never can. Drives it crazy. Got around here somewhere. Where are you, chart? You're around here somewhere. Up here. Fudge. Hey, when I do this. Oh, I guess it was off of here. Yeah, it was this one. Really good analogy of that harmonic trade. And actually, interestingly enough, the harmonic boys, they have like a cardinal rule that at 38.2, they got to be taking profits, at least partial profits on their trade. So if you had hit that 78.6, you had to take partial profits. And one of the reasons why this market stalled out there on Friday, I think, was because there were a lot of guys who took this harmonic level, 78.6, and they were taking profits at 38.2. That's actually a sort of cardinal rule about harmonic trading. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I put a tweet out to that effect. Where the hell was it? Here, this chart, right? This is a cardinal rule. And Scott Carney, if you want to go Google Scott Carney and YouTube and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't surprise me one bit that anybody who took this harmonic trade setup, and it actually set up really well, because not only did we get cute little W's that fired right off of 78.6, we also had the market in divergence. So you have location, divergence, structure, go. This was absolute textbook harmonic trade. And as I said, I think a lot of the harmonic boys were ringing the register on that rally. Makes complete sense to me. But as I had said earlier, harmonic trading is pretty tricky. And I wouldn't recommend it to new people to trading. And also, too, we're operating off of the lower time frames. So You know, again, the new people to trading, try and stick with the higher time frames. Look for those weekly W's and daily W's. This is pretty advanced stuff, but nonetheless, the trade makes absolute perfect sense to me. So, you know, I often wonder, you know, was this a harmonic trade resolution and all the guys took profits? Was this a stop run? You know, you can imagine all the guys that were shorting down here. At some point, you know, if they're professionals, they're going to say, look, if we start breaking resistance to the upside, then I have to get out of this short because I don't want my account destroyed. And so my question here coming out of this move was this, and then we went after the stops? But I definitely think that this was a really, really good lesson. And it's not really a good idea to short a dull market. And what I found on Bitcoin over the past week or two, especially when we were going through here, is this market got really, really dull. And it got really boring. And the same bearish message was pumped day after day after day after day. And yet the market just couldn't go down. And this, you know, again, you guys watching on YouTube, you want like, hey, I want my free information, man. I'm watching this free show. Give me something I can use, damn it. Well, number one, and maybe write this down, do not short a dull market. It is extremely dangerous. But number two, if a market cannot go down on bearish news, quadriga, all that kind of shit, right? If it can't go down in a bearish environment, bear sentiment, and it's just stalling here and it just can't go in, it means that the short trade is too crowded. And something like this can happen very, very easily. So really good lesson. There's that 38.2. The harmonic guys, they just were like fucking win. But also too, the shorters, people that became really bearish through here, I don't know. Green boxes off of the daily charts here, green boxes off of the weekly charts. Ugh, super, super dangerous place to be going short. So anyway, interesting anecdote there. Moving forward. Didn't understand this. And if somebody in the community can actually figure the logic of this out, I'd love for you to tell me. Because frankly speaking, I can't figure this out. But the Litecoin, this happens to say ETH up here, but I've got like a matrix of all these longs and shorts. But you can see clearly somebody placed a really, really, and they just kept adding to the trade. More shorts, more shorts, more shorts on Litecoin. And I don't know, maybe it was listening to that guy's video and he was going, I'm short. This thing's a piece of shit. It's not going up. Maybe they were all joining him. But holy crap, these people just got absolutely destroyed here. That's kind of what I've said here. How on earth do you explain this? All these shorters just got absolutely destroyed here. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And, you know, I'm watching these relationships constantly. And, you know, that was all through here. And look at what happened to them. I mean, if you're short and you bet the farm, holy crap, you just got destroyed. I don't know. I don't know. There it is there. And you can see they're begrudgingly staying short. I don't get it. How on earth do these guys stay liquid? It doesn't make any sense to me at all, but go figure. You can see the longs on Litecoin are piling in here now. So we'll see how this plays out. Maybe this is one of these historic wreck things, but man, a lot of people are betting a lot of money on the short side on Litecoin, and they got absolutely destroyed. Fascinating. Moving forward, Tom Lee predicts, and this poor guy, oh my God, this guy's getting absolutely just played. He came out all bullish at 25,000 or 20,000 on Bitcoin, which I don't think was really such a good idea. It's kind of like getting too bearish of Bitcoin now. Fundamental guy. I love his fundamental pitch. Beautiful. It's perfect. It makes total sense. The problem is he doesn't have any technical analysis involved in his analysis process. And technically, he's just getting absolutely destroyed. But anyway, I think he came out and said, somebody had said that they had come out with a bearish target of like 2,200 or something like that on Bitcoin. And then he came out just afterward and said, fake news, fake news, fake news, fake news. So the poor guy, I love his analysis. Beautiful pitch. Tom, don't give up. If you're watching this, I doubt you were, but if you do watch this, don't give up. Your analysis is beautiful. But what we really need to do is we need to inject a little bit of timing into your analysis, and then you're going to be unstoppable. But oh boy. Anyway, poor guy. And also too, without a bit of TA, really what you're just talking about is opinion, right? And that's really all Tom is. I think because of all these fundamental reasons, this is going to happen. And unfortunately, in TA, sometimes that doesn't work that way. And that's why we have to trade setups. Moving right along through the week, of course, on this event, right? Big Litecoin's rallying. It's hit my move stop to scratch levels. Now Brian gets all cocky and woohoo, party! Can't lose money here now. Woohoo! And I start putting out, memes and stuff, strong like bull and all that kind of stuff. That's what this sort of reference was to. I'm a little concerned that when we have such a move like this, that the public, of course, you can see how quickly this happens. Just chung, 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 boom, we're up top, right? And people wake up and they go, holy fuck, Bitcoin's up $1,000 or whatever, $500, whatever. And in this case, I guess it was about $300. And then they end up going and buying up top here. And so my message was, look, maybe you missed the move. Maybe you didn't trade that harmonic level. That's fine. But don't get caught FOMOing. That doesn't mean that we should lose our discipline in trading setups. So, yeah, the market had a big jump up, but don't fucking chase it. And really, my message was, don't be shocked if we actually see some effery. And sure enough, this has been the price action over the weekend, and what I would kind of want to review with you guys that we can actually see, and this is embarrassing, right? And I even put tweets out till later on to that effect. Don't chase the market, right? You're trading your setups. There's no reason to change that thinking. Where the hell did I do with that Twitter feed? Was that it? There's no reason to change your thinking, and just keep hunting the setups, right? And I was right through here that I was like, okay, as soon as the weekend comes, then all the New York, Chicago, stock market people, they're done. And so now it's time for OKCoin, BitMEX, all them to really F with the market. And literally, I started off, this was basically literally the moment the market closed. All right, ding, 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 ding. You can see the inside bar fired. So the bull has sort of exhausted itself. This is a simple concept that we teach, candlestick interpretation. So inside bar, market's kind of heavy. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. The weekend, they're getting ready to mess with the market. And sure enough, like literally within an hour, I mean, they didn't even wait. Bam! Isn't that brutal? I mean, like literally, I had posted that was that inside bar fail. There is 1 o'clock, right? The New York market close, and just face rip and one candle. Oh, these jerks. So, that's a textbook lesson. And, one of our OGs on the site, he actually has a rule. I don't trade on the weekends because, frankly speaking, these guys are idiots. And well, no, actually, they're not idiots. They're incredibly smart, and they know how to manipulate the market to screw over as many people as much of the time as possible. So I was shocked at how quickly that developed. Well, a bummer. Really good lesson here in stock market manipulation. Yo-yo, you were talking about stock market manipulation. This basically happens in the derivatives markets literally on a weekly basis. Where, and actually it's kind of funny. I read this later on, holy dyslexia. And sometimes when I type really fast, I get, letters and numbers backwards. That should have said 269. Sorry, guys. But anyway, long and short of it here, you can see the 269s had like 20,000 contracts. 270s had like 14,000 contracts. If they can somehow get the market to close above these levels, all of the premiums collected for writing these options. And keep in mind, this could be in like tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. This is like serious money, people. All of these put options expire worthless. And like literally the last 5-minute candle of the day, the SPY here like launched like literally a full dollar higher. Now, how the hell do you explain that? Maybe short covering heading into the weekend, or maybe a little bit of finessing just to make damn sure that all of these options expire worthless. So sad. But I mean, literally, this is a core concept that we teach in our derivatives program. I do not teach derivatives to new people. If you do want to learn this, you got to go through the whole education program. It's a level 3 concept. And, quite literally, it's shocking how blatant this is. But anyway, what can you do? I put out this tweet. Now look at all the traffic this tweet caught. And I even got the jerks, right? Like even the jerks of Twitter came out and started to make fun of me about this. And really, my opinion is, it's just my opinion. I'm just simply just stating what I see in the market. Can we make a case that this is just a bear pennant and it's a bear flag and we need to flag out lower? Sure, I suppose you could. But what I kind of find interesting, again, comments about anecdotal evidence of the forwards markets trying to go into contango, the inane bearishness in crypto Twitter, and right across the board about crypto. I look at this chart, and of course, when Willie is stupid, right, which is when my modified Williams percentage R indicator goes into the oversold zone. I like to call that stupidly overbought or stupidly oversold. You can see, was it a good idea to be a bear when it was stupidly oversold here? No, that wasn't smart. So here we are, stupidly oversold again. And hopefully everybody looks at this and starts to see W's. We had this bullish divergence. Can't really see it too well here because it's zoomed out. But in essence, W's, as price was making lower lows through here, MACD was actually making higher lows. And we had a little bit of volume come in. It's not much. And to be perfectly frank, like we said earlier, the higher time frame people, we will really want to see a close above this sort of 4,000 area for us to really know that this bull's rocking and rolling. But, at least we are starting to see the bull come back in. Remember, this is what I called that dull market, where, it's not really a good idea to short a dull market. If you want to wait for the breakout in volume, that's fine. And you might even argue that this little breakout here, while it isn't much, it might be similar to this breakout. I think just on balance, being overtly bearish right here isn't the best thing. And, good old 50% rules. Really, the irony of it all is that 50% of this range takes us to test the bottom side of all these failures and right back up against where most of the people actually have positions in Bitcoin right now. No guarantees of what's going to happen, but this is the first time I've actually been able to actually even draw bullish charts off of daily charts for Bitcoin. And that was the comment that I made, is that, for a hell of a long time here, you had no business whatsoever drawing a bullish daily projection at all on Bitcoin. So just the simple fact that we actually starting to see W's come in, Willie is stupidly oversold. We actually do have a bit of buying interest. That was the whole point of that tweet, was, holy shit, we haven't seen a bullish chart on Bitcoin in forever. This is remarkable. It's a miracle. Now, is this broken out? No, I don't think so. I think we're sort of just floundering around. And as I said earlier, I think we got an absolutely awesome setup off of the lower time frames, right? And it's interesting in our education program. Remember I talked to you about the harmonic guys? We have basically a general rule on the site that we actually have to wait for 38.2 to resolve itself, because like I said, a lot of harmonic guys are going to be in there selling that event. And so now what I think the situation is, there's that cute little W down there. Traders got a trade, kick-ass fucking trade. And anybody who took that trade, hats off to you. I mean, what a fucking good trade. Excuse my French, but just beautiful. And as you can see, I was drawing notes and stuff for the level oneers to try and explain what the W looked like. Down, up, down, breakout. Not an easy trade to take, lower time frames. Definitely the more mature trader. For the new people to trading, I trade little old ladies, that kind of stuff. This is not your trade, right? This is a total trader's trade. But, as it stands right now, hopefully you can see that W that looks like that. I mean, it was a hell of a setup. And if you took it, awesome. If you didn't, well, maybe just learn from this. I think there was a lot of anecdotal evidence that a rally could ensue, and sure enough, it did. So where are we now? And that's sort of what this tweet was all about. And I think that basically takes us up to date here. Where the hell did I do with that Twitter feed? I think this was it. Right there. Yeah. So it was interesting to see the back and forth, right? And, like green boxes. Hopefully everybody learns that, there is actually, green boxes. Do I really want to be, this is a silver stock. Do I really want to be aggressively shorting this thing here? I don't know. That's, the odds are probably not in your favor. Well, why would it be any different for Bitcoin, right? So if you look at Bitcoin, again, green boxes. Is this really the kind of market that we want to be aggressively thinking short on? Then also, too, look at the spreads for Bitcoin. Who can tell me, is that pointing towards trying to get back to a healthy, happy market? Or is that a downtrending market where the market is unhappy and unhealthy? To me, that's still pointing up. And there is contango. If we can start accepting above contango, then that actually means that this goddamn market might actually be a bull again. Imagine that. Bitcoin a bull? Wow, that's crazy. What a weird thought that would be. I don't know. Only time will tell. But anecdotally, there was evidence that, hey, this market's actually, a bit stronger than what people would in the public are.
Hey, Brian, you've been muted.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Max obviously didn't like what I was saying. Anyway, thank you for the heads up. What was I last talking about? Does anybody? I don't know where I was. But anyway, what I was saying there was I often see time and time again markets will actually set up W's right off of 78.6s. So that would be hilarious if we actually look back in hindsight and we find that this market actually sets up off that 78.6. And, like a historical comparison, let's just go look at the last bear cycle and how did it finish, right? So there is the 2014, 2015, right? There is that 78.6. And actually, maybe that looks about right. And notice we did lose it. But notice, too, the market eventually accepted, and away we go. So, I often find that the market loves to pivot off of 78.6. Now we'll see how it goes. Only time will tell. But if we look back in hindsight and we see that the market actually puts in a big old honking W off of that, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. Again, is this the kind of neighborhood where we really want to get too bearish? I don't know. That's awfully tough. Okay, so back to our Twitter feed. This is this is kind of funny. I think I was talking about this earlier. J-Lo bottoms, right? That pot stock. What do W's look like? And of course, this morning while we were in class, this was awesome. While we were in class, this setup actually hit its objective. And the interesting thing is, and this is a really important lesson, is where do you think the FOMOers came into the market? Well, my hunch is they were actually buyers on this candle here. This might have even been a bunch of those shorts who actually panicked and covered their shorts at whatever price they could possibly get. And I often see what ends up happening is this is the end of the move. And now, if this thing it really is a bear, now is when we're going to start to see the bearish divergences, the market structure. For the harmonic guys, this AB equals CD level actually is a trade location. And this would be a bearish AB equals CD, i.e. meaning that they're actually considering shorting now. So bottom line here is that Litecoin tout that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks has had its profit target objective hit. And had you taken this trade, you had better have taken profits. 3-1, ring that frickin' register. Where the market goes at this point, I have no clue. Now what we need to do, since this is potentially a short trade location, is we have to start looking at the internals to see whether price is actually as strong as what price is leading you to believe. So let's go look at the internals of Litecoin now. And what we see is there is that target objective hit. Just this is absolutely beautiful example of the bot. Absolutely beautiful. And like I said, there were people that I was listening to online, love their shows, great enthusiasm. They injected their opinion and said this thing was a piece of shit and it's going down and don't touch it. And it turns out they were completely wrong. Put your fucking opinions away. Opinions are worthless. And just trade your setups because you just don't know. We had all the criteria for the setup to come in, and sure enough, doink, profit target hit. You better take in profits. Let's go look at the internals now and see whether this actually makes sense that we should be looking for a higher price, not a lower price. The answer is, uh-oh. Do you see how our MACD momentum indicator, yes, we went to new highs in price, but the MACD momentum indicator is nowhere near going to new highs. Uh-oh. Do you see how our little overbought, oversold indicator is now painting overbought? The market is officially stupid. Uh-oh, that's not good. Volume. Yes, we had a big volume spike there, but notice the volume did not break this high. Uh-oh. So, long and short of it here is, in my opinion, this trade's done. It's over. And if anything, what we should probably expect is some sort of pullback and consolidation here, which worries me a little bit because, again, remember these FOMO guys? There's actually a lot of room here for Bitcoin to come back down. And we might actually see the beginning, maybe the first part of the week, Bitcoin actually has to come back down into reload zones here. That could very easily happen. Now, just like this Litecoin bot, right? One low. And this was interesting, right? Because we had one low, two lows, and we were like, okay, do we get a third low? But this low took out this low. So our whole count was reset. Then one lows, two lows, three lows. All right, we got something to work with. Rock on. And sure enough, away the trade goes. So I'm watching Bitcoin really closely right now to see whether we can actually start painting. There's that big fuck you low right out of the gate, right on the weekend. Then we rallied right back up, and notice the rally stalled right at the bot entry level. And notice too, that's good old Ray, we call him on the site Ray Barbecue. Ray Burchett's Magic 38.2 And remember the rule, we're supposed to let 38.2 resolve itself before we make any big decisions about trend. So what we're seeing here is, remember, harmonic guys, they're all taking lots of partial profits. Harmonic guys take at least 50% profits, move your stop to scratch, which was probably way down here. And if the market craps out, okay, well, they'll just walk away on the other half at scratch. But if this thing is a trend continuation, then what we should see is we have this one key reaction low. I don't know whether this is the low or not, but there's two. We want to see a third low develop so that we actually have some structure to work with to frame our entry if we're going to hunt this bot long setup. And notice that 1, 2, 3 lows, market structure, that will basically imply a bullish resolution of 38.2 here. So I think that's what's sort of going on right now. I might entertain the idea of trading this bot, and notice, gee whiz, remember we said this thing isn't a bull until it closes above 4,000. Well, notice this bullish bot could very easily take us up into that 4,000. And then notice all the range traders, we've talked about this before, reload short zone. The end of this AB equals CD, you can see there's a nice little notch in the profile up here. There's the original market structure where this actually failed off of weeks ago. So my hunch is, where's the real resistance in this market? I think it's up in this sort of $3,900 to $4,000 area. And if I really wanted to get short Bitcoins, this is the area I really would like to hunt for shorts. So that's sort of where we stand right now. We're in the process of resolving 38.2. Frankly speaking, I have no idea how this is going to play out. We might just crap out here and come right back down against the lows. Totally possible. And if that's the case, then I'm going to be hunting range setups off of reload zones. We might bot out here and rally up into the 4,000 area. If that's the case, then I'm going to be hunting long setups just like that Litecoin off of this bot level. That's basically what I'm seeing in the market right now. Okay, I think that brings us up to speed. Is there anything else in here that I wanted to talk about? I mean, I was so pleased to see that target get hit. Just great. And it just goes to show, you know, you can have an opinion. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion, but having an opinion doesn't necessarily translate into trading results. In fact, quite often opinions end up actually doing the exact opposite of what you're expecting. It sucks, but that's just brutal reality of trading. All right, I think that was basically everything I wanted to talk to you guys about. It's a little past 1 o'clock. I do have to leave here in about 20 minutes, and as somebody pointed out, I still have to have a shower and shave and all those kind of fun things. So I think I'm going to leave the video at that for today. We answered Colleen's question. I still never got to these darn requests on the site. My apologies, guys. Maybe what I'll do if Thomas isn't on the show tomorrow morning, I'm not sure if he is, but the day that he isn't, I'll go through the list in earnest so all site members get actually a nice summary of their requests. So, but I think I'm going to leave it at that for today. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Hope this was a really good sort of dovetail with the level oneers. And it helps you sort of understand those W's a little clearer. And as always, have yourselves a great day and wish me luck with the boy. It's sometimes a challenge with autism. All right, guys, have yourselves a great day. All the best, and bye for now.